Hey, everybody. Welcome to the community call and interview for the Brave in the Attempt Facebook group for Special Olympics Northern California. I'm Eric Wilfred, Coach Eric. Tonight, we have a special interview with David Solo, who's the CEO of Special Olympics Northern California, and a guest interviewer, Chris Peterson, athlete and athlete leader in Special Olympics Northern California, is going to be taking the reins and asking David a bunch of questions. We think that'll last about 20 minutes, and then we'll have time for questions from the whole audience. So of course, you're welcome after David and Chris talk for a while to speak your question. If you'd prefer to type your question, you can put it in the chat for the Zoom meeting, or you can put it in a Facebook message to me. You can find me in the Facebook group anytime. And I'll make sure that we get those questions covered before we head out today. So everybody's mics are on mute, but you do have the power to unmute yourself just in case. And even better, you can type in the chat if you need any help. So with that, I will introduce Chris Peterson, who can introduce David and take it from there.
All right. Hi everybody. I'm Chris, and athlete of 35 years and well-respected athlete. I'm here to interview David Solo, the CEO of Special Olympics Northern California and Nevada. How are you, David?
Good, Chris. How you doing?
Very well. I have some questions for you this evening that are probably burning on everyone's mind in this call and beyond.
Okay.
My first question, when will Special Olympics events start back up? And two, what do we have to look forward to after the break?
No, that's a great question. I know that's kind of the 500-pound gorilla in the room. Just to back up a little bit, I just want everybody to know that it was a very difficult decision that we had to make, and I'm just so grateful for all the staff that were a part of that decision in providing the support. And it's, everyone's health and safety is totally the number one priority. I really grappled with this for a number of weeks. You probably saw some of the other Special Olympics programs that made the difficult decision to suspend the spring sports season or cancel the spring sports season and the summer games earlier than we did. And it was a struggle for us, and we didn't want to do it until we felt like we absolutely had to do it. And then based on, the California shelter-in-place order and just the guidance from the Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention, we felt like, and then the schools too, looking at what the schools were doing and the counties, the governor, and those types of things, we felt like we had no choice, that we really had to make the decision. And it was a very difficult and emotional decision. I want everybody to know, and I understand your disappointment, and we're going to do everything we can to rock and roll and get everybody back competing again. So we've got a number of things on the docket, so I wanted to go through those a little bit with you, both our competitions, our schools events, our fundraising activities, our law enforcement torch run, and then also just some virtual programming that we're going to offer as well. So during this time frame, we don't want, we all feel isolated. We all feel alone, and we want you to know that we're there for you. We're there with you. And so we're also going to provide ways in which we can engage virtually, just like we're doing tonight. So I just want everybody to know that to start. So one of the events, or one of the pilots that we had, is our 3-on-3 unified basketball. We were going to pilot that in March in Walnut Creek. Our goal is to have that in the summer. So we're, if this thing turns around, we want to bring that in July in Walnut Creek. I know we had 100 participants, but eventually we want to roll that out to the entire field the following year. So that's one thing. We've got the regionals, we have softball regionals in August. We've got the golf regional end of August, golf regionals into September. We have soccer in October. And then we have bowling in November, and then the fall games is the big one. So we are bringing back the fall games for November, and that will be an opportunity for 600 athletes to compete in unified flag football and soccer at UC Davis. And so There's a lot of things we want to do around that event. It's going to be a great opportunity to bring folks that we're going to be participating at summer games to fall games. We're going to align the torch run. It looks like we're going to align the torch run with that as well. So, you know, the torch run that was going to be with the summer games will now go with the fall games. And so we're excited about that. You know, we've got a full slate of schools programming that will start up again in the fall when school is back in session, of course, with soccer. And then this is a new virtual program I want to talk to everybody about. It's called Special Olympics Northern California, or SOC, Health and Fitness and Home Program. And it's a virtual, it's basically our healthy athletes, Fit 5, and other health and fitness activities are going to be rolled into this virtual program. So you're looking at exercise tips and videos, guidance and input from health experts, live online events, and community engagement and other fun activities. So we're rolling that out next Monday. So
Wow.
in the meantime, we're going to offer some ways in which we can connect and be socially engaged, because we think that's really important. So we're going to continue to work on that. We're also developing some young athletes materials and content for the schools to work with our school partners and our coordinators in the school. So we're working on that. And one of our board members, Stephanie Ching, is currently participating in the Special Olympics WWE School of Strength. And so you can go to the Special Olympics website and get engaged in that program. It's another opportunity for health and fitness activities as well. So we're gonna move forward. We're moving forward, everybody. We're not giving up, and we're gonna bring everything back to you as soon as we can. I promise.
That's awesome. It's very optimistic, as it should be, because Special Olympics brings a lot of optimism to this community, for sure. What's the best way to stay informed as more information becomes available?
No, that's a good question, Chris. So you're looking, obviously, our website, www.sonc.org. And then also, so we have a separate coronavirus page that'll have updates on there. And just I guess the father figure in me, please make sure everybody, today, I don't know how many times I washed my hands, but make sure you're staying healthy and being smart and washing your hands and doing everything you need to do during this time frame and staying safe, because we care deeply about all of you. Then our social media channels, we got Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And our Twitter handle is SO NorCal.
Okay.
So there's a lot of ways in which you can engage with us. And so, but again, I want everybody to stay safe.
Yep, that's very, very important at this time and beyond.
Yeah.
David, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where did you grow up? What roles have sports played in your life? How do you keep fit, and how did you get involved with Special Olympics?
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate the question. And then I want to ask you as well. I want to hear more about your 35 years with Special Olympics, because I think that's pretty incredible. I grew up on a farm in Carnation, Washington, the first 10 years of my life. And my father was very athletic. He had been a semi-pro football player and a defensive tackle, but he had a lot of issues. And so we ended up we lived on a farm. We lost the farm when I was 10, and he ended up going to prison. And so as a result, we moved. My mom raised my sister Terry and I, and we moved to Kirkland, Washington, where I ended up at Lake Washington High School. And I was very fortunate that sports came into my life. My coaches were really my father figures, because my dad was never around. I think he saw me play one baseball game and I got picked off first base. So it's pretty crazy by a left-handed pitcher of all things. But yeah, no, Chris, it was terrible. But anyway, so, you know, I was lucky. My coaches really looked out for me. I was never a latchkey kid. I was always involved in every sport. So I played football, basketball, and baseball. And I was just lucky that those coaches expressed an interest in my life and really helped guide me down the right path. And then I had the opportunity to play football in college. I ended up at Willamette University and had a good football career there and just learned a lot. You know, I just believe sports are so important because they teach us so many life lessons. And I think about all the teammates that I participated with, and I still think of all of them on a regular basis. And I remember the things that they taught me and the things I learned. When you have to you work with a group of people and you have to come together around a common goal. And I just think it's an invaluable teacher. So to me, sports is a big deal. And so I'm very passionate about sports. And then my father later, he got out of prison and he remarried. And my half sister, he had 2 additional kids, and one of them is Hope Solo, who was the goalkeeper, the U.S. National Women's Soccer Team. So we have a pretty athletic family.
Nice. So how did Special Olympics cross your path?
No, boy, I'll tell you, I was lucky it did. I was with Boys and Girls Clubs of America for 21 years, and it's great work. I think Boys and Girls Clubs do fabulous things, but I was never a latchkey kid, and I started thinking about it when the opportunity with Special Olympics presented itself. I thought one night, I said to myself, Special Olympics is how it's about changing people's lives. Sports changes people's lives and it empowers them. And I just thought it was a really good fit for me because that's what happened in my life. And so when I went through the interview process, I had the good fortune of interacting with the board members and the staff and heard some of the athlete testimonials, and I was just blown away by it. And I think my very first week on the job in 2015 was the Summer Games.
Oh, wow.
And so it was a trial by fire that day. And I'll never forget on Saturday, the next day I was in the medal ceremony, and I put a medal around an athlete's head, and he turned around and hugged the crap out of me. And I just thought it was I just couldn't believe it. It was the best thing ever. And I love participating in the events and seeing all of you compete and just the joy on your faces and knowing that it's a wonderful thing. So I'm very blessed to be the leader of the organization, and I'm very fortunate to have the staff that I have. So.
And we are fortunate to have you as a leader in this time, as we should be. So.
And well, Chris, wait a second. So tell me more about your background, because you 35 years with Special Olympics. You talked to me a little bit about the sports that you participate in, but tell us a little bit more about your background.
I've been in the group homes. I've been in the independent living situation. I have my own apartment, but all along it's been Special Olympics has been an essential ingredient in my upbringing in my life. I do softball, basketball, and bowling. There are wonderful people all along the way, several who are in this call tonight that have inspired me to be who I am today and to truly be brave in the attempt. Probably my proudest moment in Special Olympics was probably the evening of November 9th, 2017, in which I was inducted into the San Jose Hall of Fame as the Special Olympian of the Year. Truly, if anyone's seen the movie Wonder, that was truly my assembly moment of life. And I can't imagine a day without Special Olympics, because it is such an essential difference maker. You feel accepted, and you have friends for life. You have coaches who are friends for life. You have teachers for life on both of those levels, and you have a sense of victory every time you step onto that court, or the diamond, or the bowling alley, or the track. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I wish the world was a big Special Olympics competition every day. That would be the ultimate dream.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great, Chris.
Definitely. And I also participate in a bike ride in the spring. So that's why you don't see me participating in the spring games. But I partake in the A's Life Cycle. This year would have been my 5th year, riding from San Francisco to Los Angeles. And unfortunately, it was canceled because of this time. But I think I've done at least half of the ride every year that I've done it. And it's a great test. So yeah, that's me as an athlete, and you can't hold me down for long. So I'm always being active. Like today, I was doing 7 miles because I was like, I just need to get out of my house. It's essential. Special Olympics is essential. That's so. As an athlete and as an athlete coach, I want to thank you again for
Oh,
your leadership. So
thank you, Chris. That means a lot to me. And, that's inspiring in terms of your ride today. And it's a message for all of us to make sure that we get out from time to time during this time and take care of ourselves. And then I was thinking too, to just some of the Facebook posts after the announcement, I also want everybody to know that they were very heartfelt, and it just want to thank everybody for it. It was good. Yeah.
you got each other's back, people. Let's keep having each other's back. Make the connection, do the exercise, keep active. Come on, people.
That's awesome.
We're still standing, right? So
no, you bet. We're going to get after it. There's no doubt about it.
For sure. So other than getting things back on track after the virus, what are the most important things you are looking on with your team and the board?
No, yeah. So we've engaged in a strategic planning process because we had a strategic plan from 2019 to 21. And so now it's time to work on our plan for 21 to 23. And so we've engaged this firm called Netzler Grigsby and Associates. And one of the things that we haven't done a lot of in the past in our previous plans is really take the time to get information from our stakeholders and all of our, our athletes, our coaches, our volunteers, our strategic partners, in healthcare and education and our donors. And so really and law enforcement, getting all these folks together and getting this information. So we're going through that process now, and we're going to be gathering that information over the next 90 to 120 days with a goal of having a finalized strategic plan in December. So I know we're going to be going out to the field for input. And one of the natural starting places, of course, is the athlete leadership program, and getting our athletes that have been in the athlete leadership program engaged and getting their feedback. And there was talk this morning at our senior leadership team call about the possibility of doing something virtual that way as well. And maybe there's more than one virtual event where we're getting people's feedback for the plan. But we think it's really important to do that to help us develop our vision, our future vision statement and the plan. And so that's one of the big things that we're working on. The other thing is our state funding. We're going through that process now. So I know a lot of you, I think on this call, have participated in our lobby day. And typically it's in April, and it's an incredible event. So one of our athletes, actually, it's Mark Marshall, was the one who, with Dustin Plunkett formerly, at that event, they were the ones who made the ask to the California State Assembly member at our lobby day for our funding, which was incredible. The two CEOs in the room, we didn't say a word. It was our athletes were the ones who actually made the ask that year for funding, and that was a year where we actually, I believe it was $2 million that year. So our athletes play a critical role in that lobby day. So we're going to postpone it because of what's happening, but we'll postpone it to later in the year, and then it'll probably, if everything works well, it'll turn into a thank you. And so our athletes will have the opportunity to speak to the different assembly members and senators in these meetings. So we're definitely working on that. So that's an exciting thing for us too.
Also wanted to give a shout out to Justin for his recent visit to Washington, D.C. for speaking on behalf to Nancy Pelosi and everybody there and getting the word out. So
that was awesome, Justin. And Tim Shriver was in that meeting too. So that's phenomenal that Justin was a leader on our behalf in that meeting. So thank you, Justin.
Yeah, and we got to see a little sample side of Mr. Justin as well. It really need to take a look at that, by the way, people too. So how can athletes get more involved in leadership? I know that we have a couple global messengers in the audience tonight. So how can one become like that?
Yeah, no. So, on our website, there's the opportunity to apply for the program. So that's one way through www.sonc.org. And then most of Tyler Krochmal, our forgive me, Tyler, I'm butchering your title right now. So, but Tyler in our marketing department, our senior public relations and communications manager, or director. So most of Tyler, so you can also reach out to Tyler, and Tyler can also get you engaged in the program. And then also going to any of our program staff and just making them aware of your interest as well. And so it's a great opportunity to become a global messenger for Special Olympics and an athlete leader, and then speaking on our behalf, and being able to represent us in public. It's so important because when we go out in these meetings and these opportunities to speak and present, they don't want to hear from us. They want to hear from you, and they want to hear from our athletes, and they want to hear your stories. So it's really important for us. And so we've been having a couple training events a year. And so we want to continue to do more of that. And I think now that, the possibility to do more of these virtual as well. So I think that's a great opportunity. And I think we may have Danielle Liebel on the call. I don't know if Danielle's here. I know we'll probably hear from her later if she is on the call.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay, Danielle. So Danielle is a tremendous ambassador for Special Olympics, former athlete and a board member. So the other thing about the Athlete Leadership Program is that also now we have our athletes that are serving on the board. So we have a couple athletes. Well, Danielle is a former athlete on the board, and then our own Stephanie Ching is on the board as well. So, and also a global health messenger. So it's a great opportunity to get engaged. So I encourage everybody to do that.
It's another term could be a bridge builder, because we need more bridges built and instead of torn down in this world.
Yeah, no, that's for sure.
So who's on your team at Special Olympics Northern California? How many people and what do they do?
Yeah, so we have 53 staff, and so we're really lean. If you think about it, so we cover 2 states. So we have Northern California and Nevada. And so in those 2 states, 53 people are paid staff. And then otherwise, as many of you know, we have over 20,000, well over 20,000. I think it's over 24,000 volunteers actually. And so, we do a lot with very little. So we have staff in these core areas. So we have government funding, operations, and technology. And so our chief operating officer is Elisa Kessler. I believe she's on this call. And so she heads up that area. We have development. So we're very fortunate. We have Kathy Demansky, who was formerly in schools, is now our chief revenue officer and works with Catherine Morrissey, who's our chief development officer, and our development team and our law enforcement torch run folks, and Katie Ostrom and our team there to generate revenue for the organization. So we have finance, which is led by our chief financial officer, Mike Mayo. And so then we have program. Most of our staff are actually in program. And so Matt Cohen is our chief program officer. Many of you know Matt. And so he leads the entire program team. We have marketing now. So we've hired a new vice president of marketing, Mark Chabatari. So for those of you that saw the announcements that came out, reach out to Mark if you can in the marketing team. I have to tell you that the job the marketing team has done over the last couple of weeks has just been phenomenal. And so Mark started on March 9th. Can you imagine coming in and starting as the marketing person as all of this is going on? So I would definitely give a shout out to the marketing team and to reach out to Tyler and everybody else on the team and just thank them for everything that they're doing. And then human resources. So we have Rebecca Thompson, and she is going to be retiring. Who's done a phenomenal job for us in human resources. And we now have Leslie Davidson that's come on. So she just started on March 23rd, and she will continue on in human resources. And then of course, Nevada. And so we have an executive director, Terrence Thornton, and our team in Nevada. So that's all the different areas of the organization in terms of staffing. But again, most of our staff work with the program.
That's what I thought too. But Sally said you have to get Zoom, and I got it.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So
Anyway.
Thank you for that information.
Yeah.
How does Special Olympics work with government leaders? What kind of change would we like to see from our elected leaders?
No, so we educate and engage our government leaders, at all the different levels. There's the global level, there's federal, state, county, and local. We talked about Justin's involvement at the Capitol Hill Day previously, and then we talked about our lobby day in California, and then also we engage our county leaders as well. For instance, the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors is very supportive of our work, and then the local levels too. I'll talk about that. So we talked about Hill Day and Lobby Day. With regular meetings, and we've really gotten to know these people. And another opportunity is, so California State Assembly member Jim Frazier is a big supporter. Many of you have seen him speak at the summer games, along with California State Assembly member Timothy Grayson. They're huge supporters of ours. So Assembly member Frazier actually oversees the California Select Committee on Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities for the state. And so he conducts meetings all around the state. And really these meetings are about how can we better the experience for individuals with intellectual disabilities throughout the state. And in particular with the, hold on a sec, where's my notes here?
Take your time.
With the regional centers, that's the big thing. So the regional centers, so those meetings are, so they talk a lot about some of the issues with the regional centers, including the fact that sometimes it's hard to retain quality staff and caseworkers. And so it's interesting, we participated in that meeting, and then again, Justin Steinberg spoke at the meeting and participated, represented us there at the meeting. But it's a great opportunity for us to stay engaged and kind of hear about the larger issues that they're working on. And so that's another way that we engage. And then again, I brought up the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors, and they're huge support for us. And so they have been, we've been receiving annual funds for them to grow our programs in Santa Clara County. And even the mayor of San Jose, Sam Liccardo, is a huge supporter. And we're going to be conducting an event in Silicon Valley, a gala next year in April to May. And Sam is the chair of that event. The mayor is the chair of the event. So we've really worked hard to engage, and we want to do more of that. We want to engage with more counties to see if we can get additional support from the counties as well. So in terms of change, I know this is an interesting question. So,
Yeah.
so here's some thoughts. I mean, number one, I would love to see, I guess, in my former life, I was going to be a history professor, and I really like that strain of American thought of pragmatism. So I guess being a CEO, sometimes I think you try to be a pragmatist, right? Because you want to solve problems. And so
Right.
I would love the two sides to come
Merge.
together. I'd
Yeah.
love to see them come together and really work on building consensus to solve problems and do that and be less divided. I guess I don't like how divided the times are, and I would love to see everybody be more together and really working on that infrastructure to empower individuals with intellectual disabilities, whether it's investing in training and employment program opportunities or enhanced social and emotional learning opportunities in the public schools. And of course, more support for inclusive programs of ours in education, health, and sports. And so I think sometimes we get overlooked. I think not only with government, but I also think private foundations. We've really found that our team, where private foundations, there's other issues, maybe it's homelessness or immigration or whatever it might be, but sometimes I think it's easy for us to get overlooked. And so we need to do a better job kind of waving that flag and getting out there, I think.
More exposure would do great.
Yeah.
What is Special Olympics doing in schools, and what happens once students graduate?
Yeah, so we have the Unified Champion Schools program. And so it's been amazing, the growth in the program over the last 10 years. Basically, we bring resources to schools so they can conduct programming during the school day. And the program has three main components. It's unified sports, right? So there's a sports season. There's 3 sports seasons. So you've got unified soccer, you've got basketball, and you've got track and field. And it's where students that receive both general and special education services have the opportunity to participate together in competitive sports, which is terrific. And then with youth leadership, where we engage students both that receive general and special education services, you know, in the program, and we try to recruit leaders in the schools to get involved, because then it's the cool thing to do, so to speak, and then provide opportunities to promote the program, and also that whole school involvement. And that's where, you know, you've got an assembly and you do campaigns to eliminate the R word, and we've got, you know, there's unified basketball. For instance, there was an event at Redwood High School in Marin that I attended, where you come into the arena or the gym. You're coming into the gym, and we've got a poster there, an inclusion and unified poster that everybody signs as you come in. And, you know, everybody that stands are packed because it was before a varsity boys basketball game, and we're going to do a unified basketball game there. And we're announcing all the student athletes as they come onto the court, and, you know, we're announcing their names. When they make a basket, there's incredible applause, and then we're giving out medals at the end. So we're really trying to build those inclusive school campuses and climates, right? Tim Shriver really talks about building inclusive mindsets. And I love when he talks about that, because if you think about it, if we're really going to move towards an inclusionary society, we need to start at a young age, right? So, you know, we're starting in the schools at a young age, and then that way, you know, we're integrating everybody together. And so at some point, inclusion won't be something that we're aspiring to, we'll just have it, I guess. And so that's really the work in the schools, is really to build inclusion, to reduce bullying, right? Because that's not acceptable. And so that's kind of the work that we're doing in the schools. So then now we're trying to expand more unified opportunities for the students that receive general education services to be unified partners outside of the schools. So graduate from schools, right? If you're a student that receives special education services, you have the opportunity to participate in our sports program or our health program, and our Healthy Athletes program or the Athlete Leadership program. But if you're a unified partner, you've got opportunities in unified flag football, unified golf, and now we're looking at this unified 3-on-3 basketball, but really trying to, over time, trying to provide more of those opportunities for unified partners as well. So
thank you for that wonderful information. What is Special Olympics doing to promote inclusive healthcare for people with intellectual developmental disabilities?
Yeah, and then let's come back, Chris. I love the term that you use, because I want to have a conversation at the end about that too. I think it is an interesting concept to get rid of that term over time and figure out a new term, because that's come up quite a bit. It's something that we need to talk to Special Olympics about as well. But yeah, I think Healthy Athletes is the one it's the newer initiative of Special Olympics, but it's really catching fire in terms of the field. So working with the CDC and the Golisano Foundation, Special Olympics created the Healthy Athletes program. And so we've been participating in the initiative, and we've been blessed to receive federal funding, pass-through funding from Special Olympics, Inc. for the Healthy Communities Initiative and the Healthy Athletes Initiative. So we were able initially to hire a Healthy Athletes director, and the person now is Amanda Young, who's doing a wonderful job with the program. And she's the one that's been key in some of this virtual programming that I talked about earlier. She's doing a great job getting that up and going right away for all of our athletes. But we're working to activate public and private partners to adopt more inclusive health practices. So Healthy Athletes, right, it provides an opportunity for, you know, we bring on clinical directors, and then they in 8 different disciplines. So throughout our footprint at our regional events, we offer our health screenings and health resources for free for our athletes. And it gives an opportunity for people that don't know anything about our athletes to have the opportunity to be there and actually work with you and learn more about your particular health issues and your health needs. And so it's a great way to promote inclusion as well through health. And so these clinical directors, they end up they're responsible for recruiting the volunteers that are going to work at the events and oversee those different areas for the Healthy Athletes program. So that's really, really huge for us. And then we've got some great strategic partners. We've been fortunate that Kaiser Permanente works with us, and Samuel Merritt University. We had a health fair at Samuel Merritt that was very successful. And we've also worked with Toro University, for example. So, you know, Matt Cohen, our Chief Program Officer, started the initiative, and he's done a wonderful job really building it up. And now Amanda's taken it to the next level. So I'm grateful for all their support. And then we talked about the virtual programming as well.
Yeah. I'm having, as you mentioned, when I said the word disability, I'm having a problem with that word, and I have had a problem with that word. I prefer differability. We are all different. We all have abilities. The word disability is a negative connotation on our community, which we have daily struggles considering our health, considering our diagnosis, and our lack of so-called normalcy.
Yeah.
So to have the word disability as a mainstream term for our community is a double negative, because you're dissing people who really do have abilities. I mean, it might not be like you, it might not be like Jane Doe, but differability. We are all different. That includes people who have normalcy, and we all have abilities. No one's perfect. So we're all different, and we all have abilities, thus the word differabilities. So I wanted to just make sure what David was referring to was addressed. Thank you for that moment. How does Special Olympics get money to run its program, and how will this change much in the result of this time of coronavirus?
Yeah, no, that's great. But first off, I think you're right on, Chris. I think that we need to engage virtually around this issue and have some conversation and dialogue about it, because this is not the first time it's come up. And it'd be interesting to talk with Tim Shriver even about it in SOI to figure out, because I know there was a process for framing that term long ago. So it'd be good to revisit that process and see if we can change that. So I think that's great feedback. So the money question. Okay. So basically, I don't know how many people know this. So we have, obviously, you know, we have a board of directors probably, but so we have 28 individuals on the board. Of course, Eric Wilfred is one of our board members, and we're very grateful and fortunate to have him, and everything that he's doing for us has just been terrific. But so we have 28 board members, and our board members work with us to help generate, they do a number of things, but also help generate revenue for the organization. And then I referred to the development department earlier. So we've got a development department that works on revenue. And then I had mentioned our chief operating officer, Elisa Kessler, who oversees our government funding. So together we try to really diversify our funding sources. And during these times, it's critical that you do that. So for instance, we have individual giving. So we have individual donors. We have folks that give us $25, $50, and we have folks that give us $250,000. So it's all over the map. So that's one of our primary funding sources. A lot of you know about our corporate giving and our corporate partners that you've seen at Summer Games and some of our other events. Safeway, Flyers Energy, Chevron, Kaiser, and Ray's Coca-Cola are some of our bigger supporters. So we get corporate giving, and so we try to partner with our corporate partners and engage them throughout the year in different ways. So it's not just us going and asking them transactionally for a gift. So our development team has been very creative at doing that. I think Catherine Morrissey has done a good job of engaging our corporate partners that way. So that's another area. We have our fundraising and special events. We have our High Tech Challenge, which is a large golf tournament that we do in September. We have and then I know you all know about the polar plunges, so I don't need to tell you about that. You know, we have a superstar on the line tonight that I know raises over $10,000 a year for the polar plunges, so I'm sure she'll bring that up here in a little bit. And then we're going to be doing a Silicon Valley Gala next year in April to May. And so those are kind of, we have special events. We have the law enforcement torch run. And so we're blessed, you know, that's one of my favorite parts of the job, truly, is the partnership with law enforcement. I just think it's an honor to be associated with them. I think we're so fortunate and blessed that we're their charity of choice. And it's an awesome partnership. So we've got some creative events there. We have the Bike the Bridges, you know, our torch run, our actual torch run event, and it typically generates $200,000 a year. And then, of course, like we have Police in Pursuit and other events as well. We talked about the government funding from the state in Santa Clara County and some of the other counties. And then private foundations, we get support from them. The Quest Foundation and Crescent Porter Hale Foundation are a couple examples. So we try to really diversify our funds so we don't rely totally and put all our eggs in one basket. That's exactly what you don't want to do. And so right now we're really trying to strengthen our individual giving program and our messaging that's going to go out to our current donors and really message during these difficult times and be appropriate in our messaging while respecting the coronavirus and what's happening, but also our need to continue to generate revenue. So we're going to be working on that. And then these virtual opportunities will give us new opportunities and partnership opportunities with our corporate partners. Kaiser's a big one. We talked earlier about the virtual programming for health and fitness, and I think having Kaiser engaged in that is critical. So, and then also we're postponing some of our fundraising events, so we're still going to do them this year. It's just we're not doing them right now. So that's the thing. Will still happen later in the year if everything goes according to plan. So we're just trying to be very thoughtful about what we do. We're asking some of our board members to move their giving up earlier in the year, for instance. So there's a number of things that we're trying to do to make sure our funding sources are okay.
All right. Well, since time's a little short, we need to give the platform to those who have called in. So I want to thank David. I want to thank David for his wonderful knowledge and optimism into the forward progress of Special Olympics. So now may I open up the questions to